Well, and yesterday, the governor of the central bank spoke, and he spoke about Bank of Ghana's intervention in the forex market. He says, you can see it on the smart wall, where is the sin? And he actually used data to prove why he believes Bank of Ghana has the fiscal muscle to come into the market to support the Cedi. And that's what we are going to discuss on Beyond the Numbers today. 1.4 billion US dollars injection into the forex market. And we are asking a very simple question. Does this make, the stability we are seeing in the Cedi artificial? And as usual, Winston Taki is here, and the man on the smart wall, Caleb Ziblim. We are all here to do the analysis, and we'll go to the smart wall. Winston.
Yes.
Where is the sin? What have we done? That was what the governor said yesterday. We have we have all it takes to come into the market. So the simple question, where is the sin?
He who has not sinned should cast the first stone. That's according to Bible. And certainly, the central bank governor, yesterday I was at the event, and you could feel in his voice about how he thinks about consistent speculation in the market. And he keep referencing that look at the numbers, let data be the fulcrum for decision making.
That's what we do here.
Basically, and he was quite vociferous on that, emphasizing that let's put out a lot of the speculations and let's speak to the numbers. If the numbers are moving in a different direction, then we can put them to the notice that, yes, you are moving out to a trajectory. But it's important to also note that the central bank's role is constitutionally mandated. If you go to the Bank of Ghana Act 2002, Act 612, you go there, it tells you specifically that it is one of their roles to intervene in the market when the need arises. And they have been doing that consistently. And over the years, we've seen current interventions. Not just Ghana, India has been intervening in the market when it's necessary, Japan, Switzerland, and most countries, including Brazil, because they realize that if they should sit back at a time when the economy is experiencing stress, certainly they need to ensure there's valuation in the currency, and then the price will not move out, because intermittent speculation has a way of hijacking the value of the currency. We've seen that being done. And one thing that is very interesting is how the intervention has been done, especially the FX market, due to the regulations the central bank has put in place through its auction and through its intervention. And we've seen the outcome of how the Cedi has performed, over 42% increase in terms of appreciation. And one thing people are also questioning was that all this while is the same central bank. The only difference is the change of government and the governor. So every decision that was supposed to be made previously did not work. But now, in the first 6 months, whatever this governor is doing seems to be hitting the right note.
Well, Caleb, the governor says use the data to make the decision. And we are actually very happy that on Beyond the Numbers, that is what we do. We tell the stories behind it. And the number on the smart wall is that more than 42% appreciation of the Cedi against the US dollar. Talk about 1.4 billion injection into the capital market. Would you say that this is significantly the reason why the Cedi is at where it is at the moment?
I'll not say the 1.4 billion is the sole factor for that, because in the run-up to the election last year, 2 billion was injected into the market.
Yeah.
So in the last 3 months of December 2024, the central bank put $2 billion in the market. And then the first quarter of this year, just the first 3 months, we have 1.4 billion in the market. And if you look at the data, it shows that the Cedi didn't start appreciating in the first quarter. It started April, May, thereabout. So from January to February, March, it was very stable. We had the 15.5. So 15 Cedis, 50 pesos to $1. We had that very stable for about 3 months. Then in the second quarter, that's when we saw the massive appreciation. So with the IMF saying that the Bank of Ghana should relax with its interventions, the 1.4 billion did not cause the Cedi to appreciate.
Yeah.
So in the second quarter, there might be higher interventions, because we know that 1.4 could stabilize it. We know 2 billion in the previous quarter, that was last year, 2 billion, didn't see a massive appreciation like that. So possibly in the second quarter, the Bank of Ghana actually injected more. If you're looking at the data, because after 1.4 managed to stabilize it, and also that's when, gold bar came into operation, at least April thereabout. and then the Bank of Ghana ramped up its domestic gold purchase program through the gold board. So we had more gold and forex coming in the second quarter of the year. So I'm sure the Bank of Ghana injected more into the economy in the second quarter.
I mean, talking about speculation, we know that speculation works when you are down on supply, right? Yeah. So in an instance where Bank of Ghana cannot supply forex into the market, the smallest the smallest form of speculation can actually cause the cedis to move in a certain direction. Yeah. But this time around, Bank of Ghana has the supply. And so if you speculate, it doesn't really work like maybe we saw a year ago or 2 years ago where the bank was struggling to get forex. And so the smallest form of speculation, we saw that the cedi was moving in a certain direction. Yeah. But the IMF is a bit worried. And it's the reason why when we did that story the injection, you did that story. And the governor spoke about it yesterday. Yeah. He said, use the data. IMF is the same, it's also an organization that uses data. And they said, reduce your footprint in the foreign exchange market. This is not coming from us. This is coming from the institution that actually sees all the data. And they are saying that, look at the data. I mean, reduce your footprint. The governor says, where is the sin, Winston?
It's interesting from the IMF. One would say it's easier said when you are outside the trouble, but when you are in the fire, you understand what is hitting you up. Yeah. And this is Ghana's economy. There were times when the black market was holding the rates.
Determining the rate,
Determining the rates. Before you realize it was moving by the hour. You go to Abochi, Abochi tells you that, you don't know, we are holding the market and their English is always one way. That's a signal. So it's interesting to say that. But when you go to the market itself, yesterday he mentioned that the reason why confidence is being brought into the economy is because of how the central bank has intervened. And if you observe the intervention is being quite strategic. It's not just about intervention on any other sector. Yeah. Most importantly, you realize that every month, the central bank has to auction about $400 million just to service independent power producers for FX rate because of the transaction. And all these are some of the intervention the central bank does. It also auction dollars for the purchase, the boss, they need dollars intervention. And all, exactly. So all these kinds of intervention are needed to stabilize.
Very strategic, right?
Strategic, including inflows and outflows. Yeah. All these are done. One thing that is important that the central bank consistently took notice of was when we analyze the significance of restructuring the remittances space. Yeah. And when we did that here on
Dr. Richmond has been the key player talking about remittance and saying that, look, if you do proper tracking and tracing, you possibly will not need IMF money or any development agency money in the next decade. If you really do it well, that's what many said it was our missing $1 billion.
Exactly. And that particular loophole has been sealed, and we keep hearing that narrative in all his presentations, even including yesterday. And when he made that, I was quite pleased because it is a space that needs regulation. Another aspect that possibly will boost our outlook is the crypto space, where he mentioned that now they're going to start introducing some policies to regulate the sector. We are yet to see the fullness of implementation in subsequent analysis, which we'll be doing here. But still speaking, I'm sure that the IMF have said their bit. The central bank is also doing their rightful position based on their regulation. It's not a sin. Yeah. If you decide to go by your economic outlook, we are still meeting the IMF target, considering all the dynamics at play. We are servicing our debt. Our rating has been good for the last rating. So if you look at the external outlook, both internally, it seems like our economy is in the right trajectory in the first half of 2025.
But, it looks like this is the figure that is troubling the IMF, $1.4 billion in just the first half of the year. First quarter of the year, $1.4 billion injection. The governor says, well, you may just be looking at 1.4 billion, but even with your program, our target was to add about $400 million to our reserves. Yeah. We added close to about 1.6 billion, right?
Yeah, $1.6 billion.
$1.6 billion to the reserve. Yeah. So we have every right to then come to the market and supply, because people needed to import. If you don't give them, they'll go to the black market, and the black market will regulate the system and call the shocks, right? So the governor says that Usually, the fear is when you intervene, you usually will deplete your reserve. We'll come to that data. But this time around, we are intervening, we are still building reserve. So where's the sin? In fact, just look at this trend, which talks about the cumulative, forex intervention of the Bank of Ghana, Caleb, since 2022. Talk about some 7.4 billion. It simply means that this is not the first time we are doing injections, right? It's been there for a long time. $4 billion since 2022. But it looks like it is what we did in the first and maybe the early part of the second quarter that is really gaining traction and getting the Cedi to stabilize. Take us through the trend so far, how we have come in terms of reaching this 7.4 billion inflows and what may have influenced government intervention at the moment.
Yeah, so you can see in 2022, the whole of 2022, we did 1.9 billion.
Yeah.
2023, and this is for the whole of 2023, we did 1.1 billion. 2024, we did 3 billion, with 2 billion coming in at the end of 2024. And then just the first quarter of this year, we are doing 1.4 billion. Now, the difference is that before the new government came on board, the commercial banks were the main players in the domestic gold purchase program. So when the government buys gold from the small-scale miners, most of the forex goes to commercial banks because they were the main players. But with the new policy coming on board, the central bank is the main player in the
Sometimes we saw the central bank even falling on commercial banks for forex, right?
Exactly. So right now that the central bank is the main player in the domestic gold purchase program, all the forex goes to the central bank, not the commercial banks as we had seen before. So now, according to the Bank of Ghana, this has created some mismatch in the system where if you go to a commercial bank, they don't have the forex they used to have. So now the Bank of Ghana is now giving them back the forex that would have already been with them. So now the Bank of Ghana is saying, okay, we got this forex from the domestic gold purchase program, but last year you would have gotten this forex, so let's give it back to you. So that's the explanation from the Bank of Ghana that this 1.4 billion in the first quarter was mainly because the Bank of Ghana is now the main player in the domestic gold purchase program, and all the forex which would have gone to the commercial banks have now come to them, so they have to share it back out.
Yeah. In fact, Winston made a very important point. He said strategic intervention. So you give it to the banks, you give it to those importing, fuel, and he said
very
that
important.
In terms of our import bill, our biggest headache comes from the energy sector.
Yeah.
So if you really want to arrest the issue of depreciation, what do? You do intervention for strategic sectors, the banking sector, then you target the energy sector. If you're able to do this, you have all the right. And in fact, currently, Bank of Ghana, according to the data we are seeing, they have what it takes to come into the market. And we are looking at 1.4 billion for just the first half of 2025. And people are saying, this is too much. But we keep forgetting that the quarter before the first quarter, that's the last quarter of 2024.
It's $1 billion.
They injected 2 billion into, the economy as injections.
And we spoke about this, that the exchange was doing very well before the elections. Yeah. And we didn't want to make some speculations there.
But now we understand it was the footprints, of the bank that they injected 2 billion in the last quarter. So this 1.4 billion is even smaller, 600 million less what the previous administration did in the last quarter of 2022. Now my question is, looking at what we are seeing, the data we are seeing, looks like the main source is the gold bug. Yeah. And the Bank of Ghana governor actually started talking about hedging. What do we know, Winston?
When he spoke about the plan to institute the price hedging program, he said they are working on it, and when it's time, they'll possibly announce it. And that price hedging program is going to possibly manage the shortfall and volatility related to gold price, and considering how currently it is benefiting us due to the global increase in prices on the international market. And with that, we can say that Ghana is benefiting. We already know the crude oil aspect, where it fell marginally last month, but we've seen the adjustment, and we saw inflation also being tamed briefly, and possibly the next inflation CPI coming up, we're going to see an upward adjustment because of the inflation that has come in, this new levy that has been instituted, which will certainly reflect in the next inflation.
Let me make this intervention that we have here, the cumulative data from 2022 to the first half of 2025. But let's also put it clear that the 1.4 billion you're seeing for 2025 is just the first quarter data. And so as and when we get the additional data, it could actually increase the cumulative data of 7.4 billion if you are looking at it between 2022 and the first half of 2025, Winston.
Yeah, so as I was saying earlier, so most of the interventions and most of the projections that we've experienced because of the central bank decision has been positive. One thing we shouldn't forget is how industry investors respond to any dynamic from the central bank. Yesterday, I always monitor reaction, behavior, body language by the central bank governor, as we've always been saying. That
it's actually a form of forward guidance.
Everything is a forward guidance, especially if you're an analyst just as us. We look at what is happening, and also we subsequently relate it with the data, whether the central bank governor is confident about the prospect. He mentioned the cover, import cover, 4-month import cover, that is something that is reliable for them to work upon and take some critical decision, including the caution the IMF said, which was quite positive when I read the fourth review, is that government has overdone itself in terms of the import cover and also international reserves.
It's simply mainly because of remittances and gold for oil program.
Yes. And I keep saying that our gold is, we are too reliant on gold. Because we know why gold prices are up now, because of what's happening in the US and geopolitics and all of that. So if gold prices should go down in the next 2 quarters, we are less exposed. And that's why when he spoke about hedging our gold exports, that's very positive, because everything we are seeing right now, the increased dollar inflows, is all on the back of gold. Yeah. And also, we are not fixing some structural issue that we have to fix. For instance, if we had a working gold refinery, the inflows would have been massive. Because right now we are exporting raw gold. And raw gold, you don't get, right now, a ton of gold is about, an ounce of gold is about 3,400 thereabouts. You're not getting 3,400. We're getting less than that because we're exporting raw gold. So if we had a refinery, we refine the gold and export it, we'll be getting almost double what we are getting.
Which I think is one of the plans of the Gold Board initiative, where at a point, government wants to look at refinery. And even looking at the demand side, the import bill side, where we know that because of the importation from fuel and all of that, government is looking at a second gas plant and all of those things. So, well, maybe not now, but it looks like government is also considering certain structural hindrances. But Winston made a point that yesterday, if you listen to the governor, and he sounded a bit disappointed in the media, and he said, use the data. So today, we already use the data. But one thing he kept mentioning was the reserve. That he says, usually the IMF will be worried if you are burning your reserve to keep your currency afloat. But this time around, we are building the reserve. We are far ahead of projection. We have enough to intervene. So if people are looking for the money, why don't we give it to them? So look at what happened. And this for me is important. In 2022, when we were complaining about injections, right? Government injected 1.9 billion. People were complaining. It was simply because import cover then was around 2.7 months. Then you come to 2023, injected 1.1 billion, when our import cover was just 1.7 months. Import cover simply means that if we decide, or at a point where we don't have any inflows, how much can the reserves we've built already, afford us importation? That's 1.7 months. 2024, we saw the biggest injection, a year, 3 billion. Import cover was near 3 months. Now we are talking about 1.4 billion with an import cover of 4.6 months. Proper justification of why Bank of Ghana to still go ahead with the intervention, Winston?
Absolutely. And this is enough for central bank governor to come out publicly and say, we are there, but there's still more room for improvement. And with that being said, I'm sure he was quite optimistic about the prospect of the coming year. And very importantly, in as much as we are talking about the FX sector, he mentioned about restoring confidence in the city. And he highlighted dollarization, where very soon they're going to clamp down on most institutions and agencies that dollarize or put their prices of their product in dollars, from the hotel, real estate sector. And these, he said, raise away confidence in the city, where people prefer to put their price or value their product in dollars instead of the city. His objective that he made mention is to restore confidence in the city. And that we've seen over some time where now people are quite careful how much they must keep in dollar terms, especially their investment. I saw people call me and ask me, so how is the city going to happen? I said, the city is doing good. It is on the highway. Based on this data, we can tell where the city is going. Subsequently, these are also fragile based on the output. He mentioned remittances. He mentioned the commodities.
Yeah,
commodities.
Cocoa.
Cocoa has been a bit fragile. We are already out of the rainy season very soon. We are now going to see the premium prices that will be coming up very soon. The president promised that a time will come where cocoa farmers will benefit about 70% of the...
Still waiting.
Yeah, and that dynamic is something we'll also be breaking down to see who is going to benefit what. The government intervention on cocoa pricing, who is going to finance all those interventions and stuff. So this is a very serious development.
Winston, I want to go back to Caleb. And yes. I mean, talking about injections and intervention and what have you, the only, I will not say the only, but the most important reason or factor why Bank of Ghana can still do some of these things is a certain initiative or now an SOE called Gold Board. $5 billion since the beginning of the year. I mean, you spoke about gold prices and we've spoken about some, structural issues and all of that. But I mean, away from remittances and other reduction in government expenditure and all of that, it looks like Gold Board is a darling boy in the room. How do we even sustain this? And many have said that, I mean, we asked a very simple question in the topic we put out. Does the intervention make, the current appreciation we've seen in the city artificial? I would say if you have $5 billion coming from Gold Board and Bank of Ghana controlling this amount, then they have all it takes to say that whatever we have done doesn't make the appreciation we've seen artificial. Do you agree with this assertion that because of some of the factors, of some of these inflows from Gold Board, from remittances, and what have you, Bank of Ghana cannot confidently say that, well, we did some years ago. They may look artificial, but this time around, it's a natural flow that we are seeing in the city.
Well, the question is, how long can this be sustained?
Yeah.
Because already small-scale miners are complaining that Gold Board are not paying them the premium they used to enjoy. So we have that as one corner. And also, gold prices are never stable.
Yeah.
You can never tell what's going to happen. So is this sustainable? Well, because right now it's centralized. Now, Gold Board controls the entire gold from the small-scale sector. It means that no matter what's going to happen, whether gold prices go up or down, Gold Board is going to have control of all the gold, sell it, and give the first to Bank of Ghana. So this is good. But the problem is this sustainable? Because, like I said, like I keep saying, gold prices are never, are never the same throughout. They are very volatile, depending on geopolitics and all of that. So, yes, the influence from the Gold Board and then previously PMMC and the Domestic Gold Purchase Program is very good. That's why we're enjoying this, because now it's all centralized and the Bank of Ghana has control of all the dollars coming in. But then sustainability is the question. If gold prices should go down dramatically next 2 quarters, are we going to be less bear? Because right now, even though our reserves are doing well, I'm of the view that we should have at least a year of import cover.
Yeah.
Because
you have gold, you have cocoa, exactly. You have remittances.
Exactly. You should have more than...
Because of the loopholes, we are not able to get all of the, the maximum output from all of these things.
Yeah, so we should have at least a year of import cover. Because once we have a year of import cover, the confidence alone can sustain your currency.
From investors.
Exactly, from speculators. Because the speculators are what's actually worrying us. Because some people say, okay, right now, the cedi is down, so they're trying to access the dollars as much as they can, because right now they can get it for cheap. And then hopefully, hopefully for them, when the exchange rate goes up a bit, they can sell it and make a profit. Which is why Bank of Ghana is also trying to hold the dollars very tight. If you don't have documentation, you'll not get the dollar.
True.
Because some people are trying to use this opportunity to get dollars now, keep it, and then hope that...
It must not land in the wrong hand.
Exactly. So once the market knows that Bank of Ghana has at least 1 year import cover or so much dollars in their reserves, holding dollars,
let's say 8 months, right?
1 year.
Caleb is optimistic, so allow him to...
Just by looking at this data, do you think that the appreciation we've seen so far is artificial or is something very natural?
I encourage the central bank to go ahead with the price hedging for the formula. It's very important. Yeah. already Trump have decided to do what he's doing, and that is benefiting us. Yeah. But when they decide to go a different direction, it will come against us when the dollar begins to gain certain stronghold in the economy. I'm sure whatever he's doing is a strategy because of the tariff that he keeps imposing. When his strategy gets to a level where he begins to strengthen the U.S. economy, the shocks will come to us. Already, we've diversified our cocoa export. We've diversified our crude export. When it comes to other products, such as the remittances, it's easy to get because of the systematic loopholes we've sealed. But we're hoping that going into the latter part of the year, most of the policy decisions will start reflecting and we'll get to where the Cedi will be more stronger than we think.
Well, guys, my biggest concern is do not trade cocoa for gold.
Yeah.
Galamsey is very important for me.
Yeah.
We are talking about inflows from, small-scale mining. Who is actually tracking all of this?
Yeah.
We say we are doing it, but we are all seeing what is going on in the environment. So my final comments will be, don't sacrifice cocoa because you're getting more from gold. How about you?
And speaking on cocoa, yesterday at the breakfast meeting, the MD of the stock exchange said that some local cocoa processing plants have to import cocoa. No, we produce cocoa. We are the second largest producer of cocoa in the world. And local producers need to import cocoa before they can produce chocolate bars and things like that for the country. Which is a problem that we need to fix right now, because if you are trying to build the economy, make structural changes, we need to focus in-house. And that's why Cocoa Board should pay off all the cocoa beans that they owe. And right now, everything we produce, we should have full control, right? We should not owe anybody cocoa beans anymore.
So they may forward sales.
Exactly. We should do everything by the book. If local processors need about 30%, give them the 30%, export the 70%.
Well, that's interesting. We leave you with balance of payments. And for me, this paints the picture of why the appreciation we are seeing in the Cedi is not artificial. Bank of Ghana definitely has what it takes to keep the Cedi stable. This has been Beyond the Numbers with me, Isaac Ofieje, and
I'm Winston Taki.
Caleb Ziblem.
See you on Friday.